Welcome to the Miniatures Paintbrush. Today in the Let's Build series, we're going to create Tamiya's Nissan 300ZX Turbo. Let's check it out. Ready? We are here with the Let's Build series at Tamiya Nissan 300ZX Turbo. Pretty cool. Had this on the shelf for quite some time, and I kind of wanted to dig myself into this because when I was shopping for my first car many moons ago, I saw this in a Maryland newspaper. Now, I come from New York, but I saw it in Maryland, T-Tops. This was back in, I would say 2001. No, before that. 1998. Yeah, that's about right. In 1998, I kind of saw this, and it was for $5,000 in Maryland, and I was beside myself that they would sell a car with low mileage like that for that price. So I hurried down from New York to Maryland, 4 hours away, which is not too bad. And I looked, and I told him, I was like, well, where's the Z? And he was like, dude, that thing flew the second I put that ad in. And I'm like, I'm bummed out. Turns out that they had a 1988 Mustang LX convertible waiting on the lot. It was white with a red interior. And I snatched that up because, it's convertible in New York City until I had to pay the insurance for it. And then I was in trouble. So, yeah, I spent a lot more than $5,000 on that one. But I would have done the same for this. So since I never actually had a Z, and I kind of always wanted this Z right here, I get to build it, which is cool. My brother has a Z370 ZX. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And I do not have that model kit. Maybe one day, who knows. All right, so let's take a look at the build here. It's not so bad. I mean, I've done very large builds. Now, when it comes to comparing miniature building with car building, very little comparison. There are usually a ton more things to do with one of these cars here than there is with miniature building. I know you get a lot of beautiful sprues with miniature building, and I guess if you count an entire battalion as being one model, then yeah, it's a lot less to do. There's a lot more to do there. But this is just one model. Think about it like one specialty character with all these pieces. And if you put it in that perspective, then you have an idea. Anywho, rambling on already. We'll start with the engine. I'm going to put it together. And I put them all the pieces. I clip all the engine pieces. And I take them for demolding, which I use the back of an X-Acto blade and just kind of take off all the molding lines that I can see. And, wherever I clipped it from the sprue, that too needs to go. Alright, so let's build some of these engines now that all the mold lines are taken away. Alrighty. I am using here Tamiya's extra thin cement. And the difference between cement and super glue is cement melts the plastic so it fuses it. It's like a weld. You can say a plastic weld where it fuses it together. Alright, so yeah, I held it together using a quick grip from Irwin, and they're tiny, a little bit on the expensive side, but they're so light and they're so cute. I don't know. It's in blue. I like blue. I like purple. Alright, so just adding the plastic welds wherever I need to, melting the plastic into place, fuse it into one piece, one solid piece, and the engine block would be together. All the pieces I then, let's put the headers on as well. So I found Well, I had 5 hours worth of filming. I'm not counting the stuff I didn't film. I wanted to take a break from miniature painting. When I do that, I cleanse my palette by doing something completely different and out of spectrum. And I've actually built model cars before I build miniatures, so this is my first love for all things miniatures. 124 scale usually. I mean, some of it's military vehicles. I did at a different scale in place of 124 because that would be ginormous. I can only imagine. I want to build some planes. World War II planes are awesome. My father served in World War II in Navy, and it's just I love the aesthetics. Favorite would be the Corsair, and followed up by the Mustang really quickly, and then a bomber, Flying Fortress. Also a favorite. Okay, so now I took Pill Bottle and I put all the pieces there with Poster Tack. If you're unfamiliar with this, I do this throughout all my builds, miniatures. I take pill bottles and I kind of put things on pill bottles. This way I'm not touching the actual item itself while I'm painting it. Okay, time for suspension. I'm going to take all the pieces out here and again putting it into the cup of fame so I can take out all the mold lines. And now getting the major suspension piece, the actual front end, which everything's going to clip onto the bottom too. And all the suspension pieces, and everything is cleaned up here. Good, we're ready to go. Now we're going to take a look at the interior assembly. I do like that it's left or right-hand drive in this. They have that option. So I went for right-hand drive only because it's a Japanese car and it's something different, I wanted to do something different. All my cars are left-hand drive. But look at that. You have both consoles there. And just the first time I've ever seen this in a model. So I think that is just awesome. All right, for pill bottles, if you don't know how to fill one up, you can fill it up with rocks or something like that once you're emptied out. Or you could take construction sand, which I have here. I use that for a lot of terrain pieces, but I also use it to fill up pill bottles. Now, it just makes a lot of less noise when I'm, futzing around with pill bottles. Not clinkety clanking, it's just sand. Okay, so I have this Tamiya swivel base, and this one too is where I'm putting all my stuff to get ready to get painted. There you go, nice grip on that pill bottle. I love that. And windshield wiper blades. And I have all these sub-assemblies. All right, I'll show you all the sub-assemblies. A tub, getting everything ready for painting. Yep. And I try to keep them all together. Same color spectrums. There weren't too many, a lot of black and the beige for the interior, the camel. There you go. And there were quite a few pieces on this one. Although I've had larger builds. I looked at the instructions, I was delightfully pleased. There weren't too many because this was just going to be a quick put together, once and done kind of model project. I didn't want to, it's not for a competition, it's for my stepson's shelf, which he likes collecting the models that I build. I told him he can have all the regular models for regular cars. That's fine with me, but I want my race cars. Only because the decal work on that is just beyond. So, okay, so I am painting white, and then I'm going to hit it with a pearl. So first, what I'm going to do here is I'm hitting Style Res, and that's from Badger via an airbrush. That's a Badger Renegade airbrush. And I'm just going to nice even coat. One thing I like about this primer, it's self-leveling. So it's really hard to get wrong, which is good because I'm a little clumsy. So I get a lot of things wrong. That's okay. To err is human, right? I am definitely having fun doing this project and all my projects, clumsy or not clumsy, it doesn't matter. So yeah, I'm going to. I was thinking about doing a black paint job because that would have been so easy because I wouldn't have to do door panels and I wouldn't have to do the line that extends around the car and I wouldn't have to do the details of the small lines in front of the car and all the black ridges. The top for the T-top would be black. It would be black too. I would have to paint the well where the windshield wipers go, also black. Black for the where the lights are, the light clusters are going back. So there's a lot of black on this car. So of course I can go paint it black. I want to paint it white. And not only that, I always want to learn something every time I build any model. So today I wanted to really push myself and learn how to do a pearl paint job. So it's a two-stage paint job with clear coat on top. And it's interesting how the process works. Like I never knew how it worked before. So there it is, all primered up. I'm doing the mirrors as well separately, and then I'm going to put them on. And the reason I'm doing that is because when you paint the mirrors, the base of it is going to be black. Since it's going to be white, I have to make sure they're separate so they're easier to paint. Alrighty, so here I am. I'm using Wicked colors, airbrush colors, and I am going to paint this sucker white. And you know, it's very, very thinned out, so it takes a while, and I build up coats and I layer it. I mist it on, you know. You have to be careful not to have the pressure too high, because if you have the pressure too high, you get a lot of orange peeling, which you don't want. So be careful with that. Uh, Adjusting the pressure so it's just right is pivotal. Although I don't, after 2 years working with an airbrush, going on 3 years, even I can't tell you which paints what pressure because all paints react differently. For this, I was at 25, between 25 and 30 psi. One closer to 25 psi, which is pretty high normally than what I use for miniature painting, because miniature paintings, they're so small, it doesn't require as much pressure. But this, you want a nice thick coat, and the reason why you want a nice thick coat on this one is because we're going to take sanding. We're going to sand it, and you have to buff it out. If you ever worked at an oil body place, you're going to know the biggest part of the job is the sanding because it's just never ending. It just keeps going on and on. There's so much sanding to do. And you go from dry sanding to wet sanding and block sanding, and especially if you have like fiberglass or fiberglass bits in the air or whatever. So in order to do all this sanding, the only way we're going to do is build up a nice thick coat. Now, that being said, you don't want to obscure detail in that nice big thick coat. So there again is a balance. And can I tell you how much paint to use? No, not really. You kind of have to just do it by eye. Know that you're going to make mistakes. I've made mistakes on countless cars before I've gotten to this step, and I'm still making mistakes. Okay, now for I have Tamiya's finishing abrasives, 400, 600, 1,000. 400 is kind of rough. 1,200 all the way up to 2,000. And to wet sand, you need cold water, so I put some ice in a small bowl. And one of the things that you're going to get when you paint usually is little bits of dust that can settle in there, and you can take this out with the wet sanding method I'm going to show you here in multiple stages. Now you're going to start up, I think I started up from 1,000 and I moved my way up to 2,000 grit. You can go even further than that, insanely up, just depending. If you're going for competition grade models, you're going to want to keep on sanding up till you get that perfectly polished finish. In fact, when you're done with the clear coat, you sand it again with one of the highest levels. I don't even have that one. I think it's 24,000 or something like that. Grit is just insane, and it just polishes. It doesn't even scrape. Like, you could just do it and it looks like it's polishing. the surface of the area, which is, it's just sanding it down, getting it nice and even. Now, when you have an uneven surface, you can tend to see that when the light plays on it when you put it into the light. And people, first thing they're going to notice when it comes to any of these models is the paint. That paint job is going to be the first thing and the last impression that it's going to leave. Everything else is going to be secondary. Oh, great, you have wires, but look at that big splotch of paint you got on the hood. It's not going to work, right? So you have to be very, very conscious of that. So, yeah, like I said, like anybody who knows auto body shops knows that there's a lot of sanding involved when it comes to painting. Prep is key. You put your time in the prep, then your paint job is easy. You kind of just let it flow and go with it. The better the prep, the better the paint job. So it takes a lot of sanding, and you get kind of tired sanding. So you switch positions and everything else. Yes, I am wearing shorts. Yeah, shorts. Anyway, you're going to keep on sanding and sanding. Yep, keep the sanding going. Mr. Sandman, bring me a car so I can paint it, go near or far. I'm going to paint everywhere I can. I'm going to paint, I'm going to sand. It's the Sandman, give me a car. Now that I've hurt your ears. Anyway, as you can see, there's a plenty of sanding to do. And we're going to sand some more. Just sanding, going up the grit line. 1,000 all the way up to 2,000. Let's take a break. Where am I? Where? Oh, that's right. I was sanding. That's what I was doing. Oh, you know, there's too much dust here. I think I'm going to go inside. All right, let's go back inside. Oh, boy. And I continue sanding. Notice I'm not going through all the way down, but I'm getting close to getting down to that primer where it's nice and even. And this is why I put so many coats of the other color before it, the white before it. Oh, man, I forgot. Wait a second, I have to sand. Oh, yeah, I'm just going to keep on sanding here. Yep, there's a lot of sanding involved. Yep, a lot of sanding involved. Yeah. I think it took up most of the time for the entire build. I put a lot of time in prep because I wanted the finished product to look so good. Whew. Okay, sanding done. It looks like matte finished. It certainly does. And that was gloss paint, so. But yep, nice and even. See how it's all nice and even? That's exactly the way you want it. Yep. I hit it again with some more white. Just giving it a nice even coat. This time, when I put it under white and giving that glossy sheen, or satin, I would say, because when you put a pearl paint on top of it, pearl paints are translucent, so whatever color's on the bottom of it is going to show, so whatever your primary color is on the bottom. The other coat is transparent. You can see right through it. But it also adds like some kind of like shimmery flake to it, almost like a metallic, and it's just so fine that it looks like pearl. If you ever looked into a pearl, it kind of has that glowy effect to it. And that's what it does for this right here, which is interesting because I've never done anything like this before, and I was actually terrified to do this, but it kind of worked out. It definitely kind of worked out, so I really am happy with the result. There it is, nice even coat. And I kind of put them on the inside of a box so this way no dust can touch it. And there it is. Beautiful coat or undercoat for our pearl layer that we're going to add on to this. And very important that you have no dust around. I did have my spray booth running all night long. All night long, all night, spray booth, all night long, running, yeah. Anyway, I'll stop. Okay, so I ran it this way. All the dust I know is circulated already, and that's that. I was very careful with this. Again, putting on this pearl paint job, you don't want to get any kind of hairs or anything on it. For the simple reason is that if you do, you got to go back to the sanding part, get it out and do it again. Something you definitely don't want to do. Not after you've really killed yourself with the sanding. If you do get a hair, it's worth sanding. There's no way you can paint over a problem. That's my best advice. You can never paint over a mistake. You have to go back. You have to correct the mistake from the base and then bring it back up. Okay, next I noticed that the hood was in clear glass, which blew my mind. I wanted to keep the effect on the bottom glass, so I put it and I sealed all the edges, and I put poster tack in the middle, and I put city putty around the edges just to get all the edges and seal it, mounting tape in the middle. I use Scotch, but I kind of like other ones too. Loctite has a nice one. So after a primer, I went ahead and go paint this white. Now this is a lot easier than the body, because it's a flat surface area, so sanding it is not a problem going up to the grit range. And I'm not going to show you any more sanding, I promise. Okay. So it's kind of a cool effect that maybe I'll only notice, that if you take the hood off on the bottom, it's glass, and you see the primer on the bottom. And then if you look at it at the top, you see the pearl paint job on the top, which is pretty cool. All right, next we're going to make the tub for the Nissan, which I do like that color beige for that interior. And now I'm going to take this from the miniatures side of things, miniatures painting. I have my wet palette to my right. That's right, a wet palette for you car guys, if you don't know what a wet palette is. I put some paper towels underneath, and then I put parchment paper because it bleeds through, and it keeps your acrylic paints wet. Now, I'm not talking about acrylic paints that you need thinner to thin, but acrylic paints which are water-based and you can thin it with water, essentially. I'm using P3 right now. I like that rich brown. It's almost a camel kind of brown for leather for this interior. And P3 is from Privateer Press. Check out their website if you're interested in anything miniatures there. Now that's where my Troll Blood Army comes from. If you've seen my tutorials. No, if you've seen my battle reports. That's right, I have one of those. So that's where I got that from. Privateer Press, and that's where I got the paint from as well. You can also get them on Amazon or eBay, although I'm wary about eBay paints personally. I'm also going to do the straps in the back in that leather as well. Now later on you're going to see I opt for a darker tint for the windows, so it kind of obscures the details in there, but I know what's in there, you know? And that's what matters to me. And if you stare long enough, you'll see it. Okay, next, the instrument panels and all the details within there, which I used Vallejo metal color. I was using steel, I think it was, for certain knobs, just to give that impression of steel, and hitting black in other areas as well. Now the paints that you see back there, for you car builders who don't know about wet palettes, they have been in that wet palette for a week now, and they're still wet. They're still wet and usable. So, so the good thing about wet palettes is it keeps your paints wet. And if you're using just regular acrylic, that's fine. Now, if you ever want to know, if you're wary about using acrylics and then putting, like, you know, enamels on top of it and stuff like that, what you're going to do is you want to put a coat of varnish in between it, a layer to seal this kind of paint before you put anything you know, lacquer, or some people do lacquers or enamels or whatever it is that you're using. Just make sure that this layer is protected before you put anything else on top of it, and you should be fine. Now, I say you should be fine because it's in theory. Other people have told me they've done it without a problem, but I haven't done it personally. So, I have put in a varnish layer on top of just to get oil painting, so, and with mineral spirits, and it works just fine. Alright, right now I'm going to put on a decal. I like to wet the surface area first. I also use Micro Sol and Micro Set in combination with the water itself. So this way it's actually applied to the decal. And what this does is softens the decal, so this way it can manipulate or set onto the curves of a surface. And there it is. Instrument panels are on. Pretty cool. And I take off the remaining water with the brush. Next, the steering wheel and steering column goes into place. Very nicely done. And then I attach the steering setup onto the dash itself. And then the canopy that goes on top of the instrument panel. Fit and finish, this model is pretty spot on with Tamiya stuff. I really do like Tamiya stuff. I love their models. I love them better than AMT, only because the fit and finish. You'd have to play so much with the AMT. Now, some people argue that that's part of the fun. I don't feel like I want to be frustrated by a miniature. Okay, there's the instrument cluster all done. A lot of different colors there, but very, very similar colors. They kind of blend in. All right, time for a decal. I'm going to put that right onto the center of the steering wheel. Again, with the pill bottle, it kind of holds it straight and steady. Speaking of straight and steady, here's a technique that I use. I have not even shown my miniature aficionados that check out the channel. And that's where I grasp my hand on one, just keep it steady, and lean both of them on the table just so I can steady. And I exhale when I paint and inhale when I lift up. When you exhale, you're a little steadier than when you inhale, or when you're holding your breath. So exhale when I paint, especially small details. And I'm using Vallejo's metal colors. I really do like them. When it comes to acrylic, they are the best in my opinion. So I use them exclusively. Although I do have a lot of paint from different series that are metallics. I guess I'll put them on eBay. I'm not sure. My friend just started miniature painting. He gave me his Zombicide Prison Break 2 set, so this way I can give it a prime. And then I primed it up for him. So, maybe he'd be interested in taking the other ones off my hands. Alright, doing the suspension, doing the brakes, doing the lettering. I'm using a Micron .005 pen to write the lettering that says Nissan on the top of the engine cover. Right there. And then I'm painting the black little pieces, connector pieces, I guess rubber bushings. And then finally gluing on the exhaust manifold, getting the engine together. And boy, did it come out well. Once all the mold lines are gone, everything kind of goes together like a snap-type model. Those are the ones that don't usually require glue. But this does require glue, but it went on so well. Now I'm brushing on Nun oil for you guys, the modeling community. Some of you want to use a oil wash, if you want to simulate oil dripping or dirt dripping. But I do like Nun oil in this instance because it darkens down the entire metal. It's just way too bright, and it kind of gives it that worn, at the same time old, at the same time, cast iron kind of, or aluminum kind of sheen without being super reflective. Okay, next we're putting suspension springs down. We're getting the brakes assembled as well. What a wonderful fit and finish, I'll tell you. And these wheels actually roll, so that's pretty cool. And they pivot, so they have all that functionality to it as well. I really do like this. So it was a fun build. Ooh, we are halfway there, which is awesome. Okay, time to put on the steering assembly. Now, I put a lot of glue on the tips of these because I knew that's what's keeping the wheels on, and a lot of people who pick up these cars to have a tendency to play with the wheels. So I didn't want to break off, so I had to reinforce it. Okay, so I am doing the thin cement here with the rear. That is a transfer case with the axle. And tied into the suspension, the rear suspension, and putting in the shocks. And I dry brushed the coilovers, and dry brushing is when you take a brush, and you dip it into some paint, and then you take a brush and then wipe it back and forth on something dry until you don't see anything left. Believe me, there's more paint there. So when you want to cover the top area surfaces of places on a miniature, then all you have to do is pass that dry brush on the top and it leaves some residue. Now that's chalky, so you have to play with it some more after you get it down, but it's effective, like for radiator grills. Okay, time for the exhaust system. In the exhaust system, I use Zip Kicker, which accelerates the drying time of this super glue. And if you haven't tried it, my goodness, you just put a little drop in there and it's dry. You don't know, gone are the days that you have to just wait there holding and holding and holding and blowing on it until it dries. Zip Kicker is a modeler's dream come true. Okay, putting on the brake, master cylinder, and we have the battery and other elements that we're gluing onto. There is the intake manifold for the turbo. It's just pretty cool. That goes on top. And now I put on the radiator. Just building in that engine compartment. And finally the tub for the interior. All the sub-assemblies came together and are built. So, woohoo! All right, milestone there. Now with a Micron pen, 0.005, I'm just getting the lines that go around the car. I'll be very careful on this part if you're doing it like this, because I'll tell you, it is very, very difficult to get right, especially on white, on black, because if your pen goes in any direction and you don't get to wipe it off just in the right time, then it's going to be a mess. All in all, it came out well. Take your time on this part. You will be rewarded if you do. Next, using the marker technique, just to get in some elements. Comes to lighting. I figured out that was a mistake later on, doing it that way. So what I did is I go back and I paint the actual lights cluster systems. Okay, now what we're going to do, we're going to paint the side markers orange, and I like the orange from Tamiya to use that. Now I use different brushes from the regular acrylic paints to the Tamiya acrylic paints because, well, the Tamiya ones are flammable, so I don't know why this is just a different type of acrylic paint. Okay, here comes the backlight cluster, and what you do is you paint all the colors, the reds and the oranges first, and then you paint the whole thing black, and it'll give you that effect. Right there, pretty cool. Love that light cluster. I was always wondering how I was going to do that, but it turned out very well. All right, hitting some aluminum pieces right here. And painting in some turn signal lights. Now I paint the turn signal lights first, and then I paint over it in that silver color, so this when I put it onto the model, it comes out that it's a blinker light. And then I do light clusters inside the main light housing, and I'm using a Stadler pen for that. Then I'm going to tint the windows by using Tamiya's smoke color. Be very careful here. You want to gradually build this up and wait for one layer to dry before you keep adding more and more layers so you can get the consistency you want. I went with a heavy tint only because I could. Okay, I masked up the front of the car, and I'm doing the light clusters. Now, all this could have been avoided if I chose to paint the car black. But where's the challenge in that, right? So it's a nice cleansing of the palette. I'll tell you, it was pretty good. And the thing about having an airbrush, if you don't have one yet, I highly recommend one. Yeah, it doesn't have to be the Badger Renegade, which I have there. I like it. It's a workhorse. I do like that. And there's the Iwata Eclipse, which is very good as well. Yeah, and then there's the Infinity CR. Those things are insane. I do not own one. Maybe one day. Yeah, like $300 or more. So, yep, those are the airbrushes. This Badger I got for under $100 with a lot of discounts and coupons and stuff like that. So if you are a member of AC Moore or have one around your area, ask for if they carry Badger products, and if they do, get yourself. I like the Renegade. You can get a Patriot. I heard was very, very good as well, and also a workhorse. Or I think Hobby Lobby carries the Eclipse if you want that, and they have a 40% off coupon, so you can work with that as well. Very, very good airbrushes. Although if you're starting airbrushes to begin with, get yourself a poopy one, a cheap one, because you will basically ruin your first airbrush. I know I did. I mean, I brought it back because it was an Iwata Neo, and I brought it back from certain destruction and doom. But, learning how to mix, it took me 2 years before I can feel comfortable with an airbrush and what they can do, and I still haven't mastered it. So, it takes time. I can't do the airbrushing you do on t-shirts and stuff like that, the freehand kind of work. But I wish I could take a class about that so I can learn more about that. That would be cool. Alright, getting the middle part of the T-tops, which I checked with the box, and it says, yep, it's there. I usually save boxes until I finish the build because you can always reference stuff. So it was pretty cool. Car, pretty cool. Painting this car and putting it all together. I really enjoyed every bit of the process. So this is all about brush control or hand control when using an airbrush. And you can place it wherever you want. Now, you try to do this with a rattle can, it's not going to happen. I call it a rattle can because it has a little ball on the side and you shake the can. There you go. I don't know if that's an accurate sound, but I'll try. Okay, time for the reveal. Let's see how it came out. See where all our hard work, if it paid off or what. Yeah, looking pretty good there. I see a couple places I need to touch up, but all in all, not bad for the T-tops, not bad for the well for the wipers. Let's check the light housing. Get into it. There it is, just the front part of it. Taking out again. I use blue tape. You can use frog tape, which is green tape, and you can use masking tape. But I like the blue tape. I like masking type of tape because it doesn't stick to the paint underneath and then rip it off and you'll end up with a big boo-boo later. So don't use that clear see-through tape or even frosted to do this type of work. You will be disappointed. Alright, next off is to get all the tape off. And it's funny, you would think that the silly putty would be the tougher one here. But nope, it was definitely just the tape. It's a lot of frustration to use. So, alrighty, here we go. I think it looks great. I really do. I like it. I like it. It's a table, well, a shelf top quality. So, I think it's worth it. Well worth it. If I can ever get it out. Alright, there you go. Ta-da! And as you can see, I put the little lines in with the markers. And it looks good. I'm happy with it. And I need to let that sucker dry. Unless I don't. Come on, let that sucker dry. Alright, just trying to get the tips, make sure there's no bleeds. If there are any bleeds, this would be the time to correct the issue. Yeah, alright, thumbs up. Right. Alrighty, so now we're just putting in little bits and pieces in for the lights. Lights, I painted the actual clusters before I put on the lenses. Alright, I'm going to put on the rear license plate. Don't forget the front one too. And again, fit and finish on Tamiya models are superior to most models that I've built. I have the Hasawaga ones. I see why I am pronouncing that wrong so bad. I do have those, and I haven't tried them out yet, so there's some time for that. Okay, so putting on the heavily tinted windows, and then just putting on the mirror. I had to make sure it's facing the right passenger because the person is on the right-hand drive. The driver's on the right-hand drive, where the regular person is on the left. Just completely different to what I'm used to. Yeah. A little bit of zip kicker to keep it in place, and there you go. Looking pretty cool. Alright. So now fitting the car chassis to the body, very, very, very tricky maneuver to do. Sometimes parts fly off when you try to do this. So I was very, very fortunate that everything was well engineered and well thought out before putting the kit out. Now, not all model kits are made equally. Tamiya, in my experience, has a reputation for, delivering quality builds to items that not a lot of people might have. Okay, so looks like the engine is slowly going into place. And this is what you do when you put a car together. You finagle. You finagle. You're constantly working back and forth, making sure it's all in touching the pieces that will be strong enough to have weight applied upon them. the fact that it rolls like a big kid. Oh man, it's looking great, man. Look at that. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah, we're getting to the home stretch. Think about 15 or so minutes left for this build, and we will have it done. In reality, it took me about 2-3 weeks to get it done. So there's that. Alrighty, I'm gonna put in the side marker lights there. And some super glue on a Q-tip. Put the super glue down. And then I just scoop up what I need, and that's what I use. So it's pretty cool. Alrighty. Unfortunately, it just started raining. I have to batch paint some more Cool Mini or not Zombicide, and it started raining, so that put the kibosh on the painting for today. No outdoor painting today, and I was using a rattle can to do so. So sorry there, bud. I gotta wait for some sunshine and no humidity to hit that can, the rattle can. So there goes that. I was looking forward to a nice little bit of sunshine today, but I knew what the weather was calling for. I was hoping that they were wrong and they made a mistake, but no, not this time. Not this time at all. Okay, so you have the light clusters there. It's pretty good stuff. And now we're using, and I use this special clear glue from Tamiya. It's meant for adhering to glass without leaving all that chalky residue that CA glue leaves on clear plastic. So took no chances there and used a specialty glue for that. Alright, lens covers are on. Pretty good stuff. And there it is. This comes in that tube. Okay, time for CA glue, and what we're going to do is we're going to glue on the windshield wipers. Now I noticed that you have to actually take off the little nipple that goes into the glass to align the windshield wipers. But I guess so many people chose left-hand drive that most of the stuff is on the left, and then later for you guys at the end. Okay, so there's a nipple I had to cut off. So I kind of just positioned them by hand, and you have to be very careful because you're just setting them into the recesses. You don't want to get any of that glue onto the glass because then it will stain white usually. And then you'll have perfectly clear glass and then a big splotch of white dried paint. That looks unrealistic. Yep, so this build was a fun build for me. Again, I try to cleanse my palette when it comes to miniature painting. I'll paint the project, and then I'll paint or build terrain, and then I'll paint another project, and then I'll build a car, and then I'll paint another project, and then I'll do something else, and you know, just keep on trying to vary it. I guess if all I did was miniature painting, A, I'd burn out, but B, I would have a lot more accomplished. But when it comes to miniatures and my army and all that, but you know, it's okay. You know, I try to branch out of my comfort zone and do something new all the time. And if I'm going to push myself, then I'm going to push myself, and that's just what I do until I get to the quality in which I'm happy with. At which point I think I would stop once I get a bronze medal somewhere in the crystal brush, because that would be cool. That would be a life's goal. Because these people are so amazing that I am so intimidated by their abilities in creating masterful work for competition. Which makes sense. If you're going to be in a competition, it better be some masterful work that comes to you. All right, time for the hood. Looking good. Oh yeah, that's right. We are definitely on the home stretch here, which is pretty amazing. Very, very happy. Yep. Good stuff. Oh, sorry for the background noise. Again, it started raining and I'm in my small room, which is right by a window. So, sorry about that, guys. Hopefully it's not too bad, and I'll take that in consideration next time I record. Oh yeah, the sounds of rain. Hopefully it's not so bad and you have to use the restroom because you have that sound. It's actually kind of relaxing to me. But, hey, these things happen. That's life, right? Now I'm putting the mirrors in, just coaxing them in. The little mirrors come separately, which is pretty cool. I used an X-Acto blade to put them in, which is not normally, it's not status quo when it comes to putting in mirrors. You use the sharpest thing you could possibly find. No, but it's not so bad. It works as long as you use the flat edge and be very, very careful. And they are tiny. Did happen to lose one at one point, and then my wife actually found it because she has eagle eyes. Me, not so much. I wear glasses. I can't see far away. Seeing close up, though, that I can do. That I can do well. The rain may be coming down. It's one of those summer quick rains. Alrighty, so let's see what we're doing there. Just putting on the mirrors again. Mirrors are tricky. Mirrors are tricky when they come in separately. So be careful with that. Yeah, we're getting close. We're almost to the hour mark. And finishing up the vid, finishing up the car, just about done. And look, I love the way it came together. Check that out. The car that I wanted when I first bought the car. I was settled on a Mustang, but I was going to get that one right there in white with tinted windows. And I kind of just recreated that right there. Big old thumbs up. All right, just last minute things, little decals and woozy-watsies, and putting things together. Here's the decals for the license plates, which I'm going to put that on there. And I'll do decals for the emblem, which unfortunately, and it's really sad, but as I was waxing the car, it kind of came off. Now, for my gloss coat, I didn't mention this, but I used Alkyd 2, and I think it had a reaction to the Wicked color paints. Like I should have put a barrier in between those two before I put that on there. So, FYI, don't mix those two. Be careful with that. I think that if you're gonna do the Wicked colors, stick to the Wicked colors gloss coat or top coat, and put that on there. because if not, it just gets really sticky, and it just never feel it really dries. So you have to be careful with that, using that top coat. All right, again, using Microset and Microsol, these two products are really, really good when you want to lay down decals, because it softens up the decal, and then it just, it actually conforms to the area where you want to put the decal. And you don't want to rip a decal because you'll never get it back. And they're super expensive to get on eBay. I'll tell you, like 35, 40 bucks. The price of a model. So it's like, might as well just buy another model and get a whole bunch of spare pieces. Yep. So, yep, it slipped off, and it was pretty cool. Again, if you hear that rain in the back, I do apologize. It will pass soon, in my opinion. And my stepson is raising the blind in the background, so if you hear that, it's my wife. What do you do this?
Dude, look at the rain.
Okay, yes, it is definitely raining. All right, so let's get back to this. Let's get back to this before this broadcast was sabotaged. Let's get back to putting on the license plate, which went on. It was a little bigger than I expected, so I had to trim it down just a little bit before I got it down. My boy bought me a Slurpee from 7-Eleven. Cotton candy. Good thing I'm not a diabetic, because that is sugary. It's free Slurpee day today. Slurpee. Slurps. That is good. So, yep. Pretty cool stuff. I used that is a shaper to put on some of the decals. I usually use brushes or shapers. I'm sorry, that is a brush. My bad. I thought it was a shaper. If you look carefully, you should see on the right-hand side a little bit of decal stuff left on there. It's not going to hurt anything. Leave it on there. Again, that front decal came off for the emblem when I waxed the car. I wash and wax the car like you would and take care of any automotive paint. I wonder if I can use 2K clear, because I know people use that in the automotive industry. I guess if I use auto paint and then use that, then I'll use the Alkyd 2 and it would react, or use that Crystal 2K clear and make it. I'll play around with that maybe. Maybe I'll just see if I can get that type of paint and play around it and see what it's like. But I really do want to work on those Wicked Color paints, because I don't really use the Wicked Color line because they're very glossy on my miniature painting. What I do use it on, however, is on the for car building. So I'm just want to go through that. All right, looking good, man. Looking good. Look at that. You're a beast. I remember Rolling Track magazine when I was a kid. They put this thing up against the Corvette at the time. It was that 80s Corvette, when they were all about fuel efficiency and not non-pollutants and restricting performance. I never liked those. Did like the ZR1. That was a pretty cool car. But that's the only one from the range. And when it comes to model cars, I built so many of those. Ironic. Convertibles and hardtops, all kinds. Like, I could probably know my way around the engine and tell you what each part is. Oh, excuse me. The Slurpee popped. Alright, so there's that emblem that came off, unfortunately. Be careful with that. You may want to paint another layer of clear when you put on the emblems. I think next time, if I'm going to do that, right before I put a clear coat on, I'll put all the decals. Like, not follow the directions on the actual instructions and put the decals first, and then put a clear coat on top of it to seal it. My wife just came into the room and gave me a look like I'm talking to myself. Fun times, man. Fun times. All right, we're just about done. And I'm just about a little delirious. If you can't tell, I have a little bit of sense of humor. I don't take myself too seriously. And I just enjoy building models and sharing the experience with you guys. So it's pretty cool to have you along for the ride. And thank you so much for joining me. All right. It is time for the finished product. Oh, yeah. Well, there you have it, the 124 scale of Tamiya's Nissan 300ZX Turbo. It was a really fun build, and it took me away from miniature building and painting for just a little bit, just to cleanse the palate. I love doing these builds, and I love cars. If you're visiting me only because of the car aspect of it, feel free to check out the channel. There's a lot of miniature painting tips and tricks that I carry over from one hobby to the next, and you can check that out, and hopefully it's helpful. Well, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so you can keep abreast of all things miniatures paintbrush and share with others. Well, I catch you next time on the Miniatures Paintbrush.